The stock market closed down again today as we end a wild week. And we're not in the clear yet by any means. Looking at the heat map today, we can see that it was definitely mostly red, but it wasn't as bad as yesterday by any means. Tesla fell a lot. Nvidia fell a lot, Amazon and Apple fell a little bit, but the healthcare stocks did pretty well, and Microsoft and Google did too. Now, tomorrow will be important because of a couple key things, and we actually have Powell, the chairman of the Federal Reserve, set to speak again. So, Tom, what's going on?
Yeah, he's set to speak tomorrow, Mike, at 2 p.m. Eastern time, just like how the interest rate decision was at 2 p.m. Eastern time yesterday, but he's going to be speaking at 2 p.m. pretty much at a Fed Listens event. This is where they're going to be talking about how the pandemic has reshaped the economy and the workforce. And they're also going to be looking at the challenges that exist during this transitioning phase. So Powell will be giving opening remarks at this event. And then Vice Chair Lael Brainard and Governor Michelle W. Bowman will each moderate conversations with leaders from organizations that include nonprofits, small businesses, manufacturing, and different places like that. So it will be a pretty big event, Mike. I think that it'll be bigger than people are kind of putting on right now, because they're going to be talking about the post-pandemic economy and some of the challenges that we still have ahead. So maybe if they hit on something specific, it could end up moving the market. So figured I'd mention it because Powell is definitely a very influential figure, as we already know from this week, as he made the markets go crazy yesterday.
True. So whenever Powell speaks, it's worth listening, but this will, in my opinion at least, not be as big of an event as the event from Wednesday with the interest rate hike. Anytime we have an FOMC event, just like we did on Wednesday, when we actually have interest rates increase, those are just gigantic events, not only for the stock market, but basically every other market out there, because interest rates play such a key role in the economy. But nonetheless, Powell's speech tomorrow will be important.
Yeah, definitely will. And talking about interest rates right now, Mike, I noticed that the TNX started flying back up again today. It's almost breaking back out. So keep your eyes on those rates. They're continuing to go up, especially after Wednesday, whenever they reiterated that rates would have to stay higher. But yeah, TNX is moving up, Mike. I noticed today that the dollar was actually all over the place. It fell down, then started pushing back up towards the end of day. It'll probably start to go green if the market keeps falling down. But nonetheless, I figured I'd mention those because those are usually pretty big movers after these big FOMC events like we had yesterday. So I know that they will be pretty important to look at. I know GLD has also been big lately, Mike. It's been holding pretty well here at the 155.50 support, and we actually had a pretty good play on it today in Discord. But I figured I'd mention those because they are very big economic data points, and I know that 10-year yield has been watched a lot over the past couple months.
No doubt. So looking at the market itself a little bit more, the SPY today was down, like we said, and we're well below the $400, which is now a resistance level. But Tom, it seems like every single day we just see weakness and just like pessimism in the markets. What are the key levels that you're seeing for tomorrow and then even for next week? Because I know 370 is going to be kind of big, but what are you seeing?
Yeah, we have to go all the way back now to July to get some good data points here on the SPY, because we're starting to break below key levels. Like you said, 380 was a big break to the downside this week, and now we're sitting around 374. Honestly, Mike, I do see a bit of support here, really close to 372 to 373. So maybe the market can start to hold here and go up. We always have to give or take $1 or so, but you can see back here in July how the SPY had a ton of bounces right around 372. So I will be watching that level very closely over the next couple of days. I will say I would not be surprised if the SPY ended up popping up a little bit just because of how red it's been this week. Like, we've been starting to break down pretty drastically. And like you said, this downward selling pressure is starting to get pretty parabolic. So hopefully we can start to have a nice little pop back up just for the sake of price action, because as we know, the market can't always go down.
So let's say good things happen and the stock market rises up. What are the key levels to watch in that sense?
Yeah, so I would say 380 is going to be huge if we start to rise up tomorrow. I would really look for a nice touch back up there around that level. You can see during the FOMC event, we fell down initially, almost hit 380, and then popped all the way back up before breaking back down below it later that day. But 380 is a big level, 380 to 381, honestly. We've been holding there this whole week around 382. So honestly, I think 380 will be a very big level, Mike. And even today, intraday, there was some pretty big resistance around 377.50. So that might even hold up tomorrow too.
Gotcha. So one of the craziest stocks over the past month has been FedEx. This stock just got destroyed. It went from like $210 all the way down to like $150 in just a couple weeks, and their earnings were pretty rough, but there was some news today with this one. So what's happening?
Yeah, it was actually some pretty good news. And you can see that today it actually had some nice upwards momentum come into the stock, but they are actually reporting some pretty big cost cutting measures, Mike, which is amazing considering they just came out with a terrible, or they actually retracted their guidance and then came out with bad earnings. But nonetheless, though, Mike, they're going to expect to have a total cost savings of $2.2 to $2.27 billion for the fiscal year of 2023. And some things that they're going to be doing to kind of get these numbers down is that they're going to be parking planes and reducing flights. They're going to be closing certain locations. They're going to suspend some of their Sunday operations, and other expense actions will save them between $350 million and $500 million per year. And they'll save an additional $350 to $500 million by reducing vendor use, deferring projects, and closing office locations. So there's a lot of stuff that they're doing, Mike, to cut costs, and they definitely need it right now because that earnings, that preliminary earnings that came out with them was terrible. That was a bad drop, Mike. They closed at 204 that day and opened up the next day down around 160. That is a terrible drop. Hopefully these cost-cutting measures can help them come back up a little bit, but I will say I don't expect it to save them right away.
Yeah, and another important thing to know is that not only are they cutting costs, but they're also increasing their delivery rates. So that's awesome. You know, they should have increased revenue and then lower expenses, which should translate to better earnings overall. So it's been a bad month to be an FDX bull, but time will tell whether these measures end up working out for them. But I think they're definitely going in the right direction.
Yeah, and it says that they stood by their 2025 projections that were set in June. So at least that's good that they're sticking by their 2025 projections. Oh, I know that they withdrew some of those 2023 projections, but man, at least they're sticking by the long-term ones, which shows that over the next few years, it should be okay, even though there might be some shorter-term issues here. And when I look at that daily chart of FedEx, Mike, that is insane, like the way it's gapping down. But we did actually have some other big news today come out about Robinhood. And I know a lot of people have been angry with Robinhood over the past couple of years. I know that there was a lot of stuff with the AMC and GameStop events where they had to limit trading on those tickers for a couple of days. And I know that made a lot of people angry. And I know Robinhood also makes people angry because they actually they sell your order flow. They actually sell pretty much like whenever you buy or sell stocks or options, they sell that information to big institutions. And right now, there's a new report that the SEC will not ban payment for order flow, which is going to piss a lot of people off. I know a lot of people wanted this to be banned. So for it to not be banned, though, that's really going to help out Robinhood, which honestly, Robinhood had a great morning. It gapped up, but then I think the market kind of came back to reality and we ended up down 2.72%, but it did have a nice jump in pre-market with the news.
True. So basically all brokers nowadays use payment for order flow and they sell your orders to high frequency trading firms or other market making firms. The main reason Robinhood always gets brought up is because they make like all of their money from payment for order flow. So it's like when you hear payment for order flow, you think Robinhood. So obviously with payment for order flow not being banned, that's a good thing for Robinhood. But, you know, like you said, Tom, like they popped up in the beginning of the day, but they really just fell off as the day went by.
Yeah, and I was really hoping early on that we would see some nice momentum going to the upside. I was really watching this one at market open because it was leading my watch list. And at the time, I think it was up like 7 or 8% at the time. But then it started falling back down. Like you said, it just ended up becoming a pretty bad day. I will say, Mike, could you imagine, though, how bad the drop would be on Robinhood if they did ban order flow? Because like you said, Robinhood really relies on that order flow. So if they did ban that, I wouldn't even be surprised if this company fell down 40 or 50% given how much they rely on that.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the only good thing in that situation, if payment for order flow was banned, is that their competition would also face the same issues, you know? So let's say they had to bring in like flat rate commissions back, like,
Yeah.
you know, $5 to buy, $5 to sell, you know, then you'll be seeing that at TD Ameritrade, Webull, and basically everywhere. But yeah, I definitely know what you mean.
Yeah, definitely. That was a pretty bad day, though, overall for them, even though they did get the good news. And, they do rely heavily on that order flow. So hopefully this does help them out actually over the next couple months. But they have been kind of falling down with decreased volatility and everything like that, anyways. I know that they did very well, Mike, during the GME and AMC explosion. But once that volatility started falling off, they really took a big tumble there. So I will be worried about Robinhood stock for the next few years. But looking at other stocks that might be affected by this, like SCHW or Charles Schwab, like you mentioned with some of those competitors, they might also get hit. So watch for some tickers like this or other brokerages out there who might also fall. But Mike, there was actually big news tonight with DocuSign too. Nothing too crazy, but they named a Google executive as their new CEO. And they are actually popping up ever so slightly in after hours, kind of bouncing off that lower support down there on the daily chart. But they are up a little bit here. Hopefully they can hold up a little bit higher. Anytime a company gets a new CEO, sometimes it goes up, sometimes it doesn't, but hopefully it helps out DocuSign because they have been they've been pretty rough, just like Robinhood this year.
Yeah, so DocuSign has highs of $315 basically, and they're trading for around $55 right now, which they have not been at this level since 2019. And this company exploded with COVID. So it's been a pretty tough year for DocuSign. Obviously, as the stock market tanked down, basically all stocks fell down, but DocuSign being one of the worst drops like in the entire market.
Yeah, and honestly, DocuSign's been pretty interesting. I've been actually researching them over the past couple months, and I know we've been talking about it a lot more as well, Mike. And it's pretty cool. You can sign for things on the internet, and maybe like if you get like a mortgage or if you refinance or something, you might not have to go in person and sign all the docs or scan them in. You can just do it on DocuSign, nice and easy. So seems like a pretty good company for the future whenever you consider everything is going online nowadays. So definitely watch DocuSign. Hopefully that new CEO does help. But Mike, we don't really have any more earnings left for the week. We did have Costco report tonight. It was nothing too crazy, guys, or else we would have hit on it a little bit harder. But it is falling down a little bit, down under 480, which was a pretty big support. So we'll have to see how this one fares for tomorrow.
Sounds good. Well, you know what time it is. Momentum plays. With the first one, we have Meta to the upside.
Let's go. The momentum plays are almost my favorite part of the nightly videos, but go ahead and make Meta break out above 144.60.
Alrighty, with the next one we have CANO. Also to the upside.
Yeah, we've been talking about this one a lot the past few days, and it got a lot of momentum at the end of day. So guys, really keep your eyes on this, up 32%. Like, what's going on? Make them break out above $9.60. If you guys want to get a little bit more risky and it stays flat heading into open tomorrow, make them break 860 for a potential retest of 950 up there.
Yeah, so Humana is actually looking to potentially buy this company out. There's no official word just yet, but it's a potential buyout play. So definitely keep it on your radar. And then with the last one, we have Amazon, but to the downside.
Amazon, yeah, they had a pretty bad fall today, actually. Even at market close, pretty bad drop. But make them break down below 116.30.
All right, so we are watching Amazon for potential day trade to the downside tomorrow, only if they break below the level Tom listed. And then we are watching CANO and META for potential day trades to the upside tomorrow, only if they break above the levels Tom listed. But guys, if you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe. We post brand new videos every single day. And then Tom, heading into tomorrow, it's a big day, it's a Friday. The stock market was brutal this week. We have another Powell event. What's your favorite stock for tomorrow?
Honestly, I'm really going to be watching the SPY very, very closely. I think that's going to be a big thing. We had a really good, almost triple bottom today, very close to that 370, 350 level. So I'll really be watching for a nice break down below that possibly. Like I said, the market could pop up tomorrow and retest 379, but I really am kind of leaning towards a drop down, especially given that Costco's flying down now in after hours. That's not what you want to see out of a big retailer like that. That might even bleed over into Walmart and some of the other retailers if we're not careful. So definitely watch that SPY. If it keeps falling, SPXS will be an amazing stock to play. I know we talked about this one yesterday, Mike, and it ended up going up another 2.6% today, and looks like it's set to break out tomorrow if that market can keep falling. So still looking pretty hot there for SPXS, and even UVXY did pretty good today too. They ended up red, but early on they had some momentum.
There we go. And then I also want to give a giant shout out to today's member of the day, Lex Mio, in the Stocked Up Discord chat. You've been in the chat for almost 2 years now. Definitely keep up with your activity. It's great to have you in the chat. And Tom and I really appreciate you. Besides that, guys, don't forget to subscribe if you're new. Tomorrow's going to be a wild day, so let's end the week strong.